Hello, Matt here from RetroOnly.com. Today, we'll be talking about how to tell if your Atari 2600 works. Before we get to that, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Do you have an Atari 2600 and want to make sure that it's working properly? Maybe you're going to purchase one and you want to make sure you know how to tell if it's working properly or not. No matter why you want to know the answer, we have the answer to this question. So, how can you tell if an Atari 2600 actually works? Although there are quite a few things to check over to make sure an Atari 2600 works, some of them are the sound, the buttons, the games, the controllers, and the paddles. If you continue watching, we'll show you how to make sure that your Atari 2600 is working properly, and how to know if it's not. How to tell if an Atari works. The Atari 2600 is in proper working condition if it fulfills all the requirements mentioned in this video. There are a few things that you need to look for before purchasing an Atari 2600. The first thing that you need to check is the display cable. The display cable on an Atari 2600 should never be bent, crushed, cut, or braided. If the cable has been bent or has one of the other issues mentioned, the Atari will probably have display issues. These issues can be something as small as having a distorted image to having no image at all. Although, just because it has display issues, that doesn't mean that the entire system is not working properly, or that the entire system is bad. You may simply just need to replace the display cord on the Atari 2600. And a new one can be purchased online for just a couple of dollars. To further check whether an Atari is working or not, you'll want to use the upgraded universal cable. For a TV connection that does not support the direct interaction, use the Atari's gaming adapter, which will ensure it works smoothly by connecting directly to modern TVs. Supporting requirements. Since the Atari was not made in an advanced technological age, it only worked with the manual TV switch box that had a mechanical type of port. It doesn't work with the automatic one. That is why the requirement of Atari's original adapter is necessary. Physical aspects of the console. The original Atari 2600 had a foam insert to help protect the console from dust. Without the preventative dust foam on the inside, the console will soon stop working. You can check to see if the foam piece is there by looking through the little slots. You will want to make sure that it's still in place. If you find a console without the foam protector, it means that it is refurbished or repaired, and not in original condition. That isn't always a bad thing, but it is good to know. To make sure the game's cartridges are working properly, you will need to insert the game cartridge into the console. If its setting is not disturbed, then it will display a small green bar at the bottom, which is an indication of the factory setting. This method is sometimes called the green color test of Atari. Testing the controllers and paddles. Plug in the controller and paddle adapter and do a detailed test by moving the joystick several times to check the movement on screen. If the player or any icon on the screen moves properly, then these controllers are in good condition. Similarly, do a paddle test by playing any paddle-supported game. Sound check. One of the significant problems with the Atari 2600 was that it tended to lose functioning sound after some time. Some of the Atari 2600 versions may not lose the sound, but it certainly tends to get weaker with age. Proper sound can be tested by simply playing any game. Just plug the cartridge in and listen for the standard game sound. If it doesn't quite seem right, or if you don't hear any music, then your console is obviously not working correctly. Button check. The original Atari 2600 has 6 buttons on the console, and each button had a separate functionality. You'll want to carefully test each button to make sure that they are in place and perform the task assigned. If you do this, it will make sure that your display and console settings are working properly. Game check. The Atari 2600 comes with 8 original games. Even though other games were later released, the console was originally only sold with these 8 games. Whatever games you have, you will need to make sure to test each one to see if they are working correctly. Also, the place on the console where the cartridge is to be placed has 2 strips of golden connectors. These golden colored strips will adjust the game cartridge, so you will want to make sure that they are not bent, greased, or worn out. If you still see a bright shine in them, it means that your console will adequately support the game cartridge. Other things to consider. The Atari 2600 is a precious piece of old retro tech. This is why it needs a lot of consideration before being purchased. Because of its design, it is difficult to tell when one is working and when one is damaged unless you're able to plug it in and test it. Even new boxes could have damaged pieces inside of them because of shipping issues or other problems. But don't worry, if you check over all the items that were listed earlier, you will be sure not to purchase an Atari 2600 that isn't working. If you're looking to buy a used Atari from an online marketplace or a tech store, then you have to be careful about your purchase. Because this console dates back quite a number of years, a significant percentage of people sell its repaired versions or refurbished. There are also some look-alike Atari 2600 consoles that are flashback versions, and they can often look like the original Atari as well. However, they come preloaded with games, so if you turn the Atari on and it has games loaded on it, then that is one of those flashback consoles and not an original one. Atari 2600 features. The Atari 2600 was first released in 1977, but it is still enjoyable even in this advanced tech world of today. People who enjoyed these consoles often still have an Atari 2600 in their collections or old store. Even though leaving it unused over a long period of time can make it a bit rusty and slow, the people who grew up with these would never get rid of them. The Atari 2600 was a pioneer in the digital video gaming world, and it transformed the gaming specifications with its vastly improved gameplay, graphics, games quantity, and versatility. Before the release of this console, people used to play Atari Pong. It had average quality graphics and way less functionality, so the Atari 2600 was actually a step up in the gaming world. This is why when the Atari 2600 was released, it gave hope to a new era, the gaming era. If you have checked over everything and the console seems to be in working order, you should be good to go ahead and purchase it, or simply know that your console is in full working order. If you are purchasing it, you'll want to get home, plug it in, turn it on, and then bring back all those childhood memories of you beating your friends on this system when they would come over. This has been Matt from retroonly.com. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and check out our website at retroonly.com.